like a week or something.
He's not here, right? Like you need.
You didn't know they changed the party?
Yeah.
He's right in front of the ballot.
Correct. You can't.
Change your mind.
By who?
Hi, I'm Alex Schultz. It's 2015. We took a step.
That was that forever? I never, I don't know. Because I never really had details. But, I told Steve. I can't get it. I had a problem. Do it again. I had to dig all that stuff out. So I told him, I said, you guys just pull up through, no, John was supposed to be up there. I got to tell me, I'll stop. Everything else, they knew my head is in. Oh, yeah. I don't know where I can just
What I'll do is sometime before next winter, I'll get that with you. And you and I can talk about it. So, you know, no problem. This guy just smiled here. All he knows is not going to drive it. I'm dead here. All right, we'll look at it. Then I'll go over it. Every time you go up there, and I need to get a road, that I can't do. Until the time. One I use like this. Oh, this bullshit. Well, yeah, he was it all first. He has his things on both sides. I think he was doing it. Yes. Really does. And that's what and then we'll look at it, and then you can show me where it's going to be a problem and where it's not. Area where it's not. All right, especially if we get a bigger all the way down. Now we always stop because we have to.
Run late, sorry.
Next month we'll have a public hearing. So we're good. Yeah? And please rise. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Needed to do that, keep the road employment Wisconsin Business Drive is live streamed to my meeting. The Board of Supervisors met in executive session, meeting before the next meeting, discuss matters of potential litigation. I wish to approve the entire consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye. Department report. Your department.
I don't have too much to report. The only thing we've got is, we've got our spot patching done with smaller areas and places at the end of May. And we're about 3/4 of the way done our cleaning ditches around the township. And I think we'll be seal coating by the end of the month. I don't have a definite date on that yet, but it'll be towards the end of June or the very beginning of July. And the thing with the, if anybody's noticing that some of the roads aren't being mowed yet, that's because the boom mower was delayed on being shipped down to the place where they're installed on the tractor. And it is delivered down there now, and it's almost done being installed. So I'm hoping by next week we get that thing here and get it moving on the roads. But we have been going around with the weed whacker doing the intersections and stuff so people can see at the intersections at least. So it's about all I got right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kristen.
The Honeybrook Community Partnership is sending out a mailing to just over 200 businesses in the Honeybrook area to seek sponsorships for the Harmony Day activities and for the Country Fair on September 11 and 14. The list was a combination of businesses from the list I had and the list the borough had, and together those are being submitted to the vendor that will be updating our community map. So that was, the timing on that was very fortuitous. The partnership also recently awarded 2 scholarships to graduating seniors from Twin Valley High School. This year there were over 30 applicants for 2 awards, so it was a difficult selection process. If you're on the website, you'll notice that I posted information about the return on environment study that the Chester County Commissioners presented at the Open Space Summit on May 2nd. Some interesting highlights from that. They look at the public health benefits, economic benefits, and environmental benefits, of course, of open space preservation. And for instance, housing values for properties within a half mile of preserved land typically increase by about 4% here in Chester County. And in a rural township such as Honeybrook Township, the cost of community services was an interesting result as well. For every dollar of taxes collected from a residential area, there's $1.06 in services that are required, but there's only 6 cents of services required from preserved land. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yes, I just want to comment about a few items on tonight's agenda. Item number 4, there's a request for action on a resolution to adjust the capital reserve fund budget to allocate $30,000 from the cash reserve to convert an existing swale into a bioretention swale in the Evergreen Bridge development. That says a whole lot. It probably isn't very familiar with certainly anybody in the audience. The township is required to participate in the MS4 program. And MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems. And what that means is basically any conveyance that we have, whether it's a ditch or a pipe that takes stormwater and discharges it into our streams is regulated, and we're required to do things that are going to reduce pollutants in the township, in that discharge. Now, one of the things that we have to do, and we have to do several during the term of our permit, are projects that are designed to do this. Now, we had an issue that residents alerted us to in the Evergreen Bridge development, where the existing stormwater swale system was no longer working. And the engineers went up and took a look at that. And it just so happens that that area was identified previously by the engineers when they put in our permit application as a location for one of these projects. So rather than having the homeowners at their expense go out and try to correct some of this, I think it's in everybody's best interest to have the township execute this particular project a year or 2 years earlier and put in this bioretention swale. We still get our full credit for MS4 permitting purposes, and it'll resolve the problem now that's occurring. So that's what item number 4 is all about. Items 5 and 6 are really just housekeeping. One's an ordinance and one's a resolution. Number 5 is an ordinance to update the property maintenance code. We used to have language in the code that said that we're always going to be up to date. Whatever the latest version of the code is, that's our version. Well, the court said, no, you can't do that anymore. The board has to take official action each time if they want to update the code. And so they have to do that. And so we're going to do that hopefully this evening and get to the latest version. Item 6 is a very similar thing, and that's that the township does follow the rules in the Pennsylvania Municipal Records Manual, but it talks about what records to dispose of. And there's a new manual, and there have been amendments to the manual in March 2019. So we're just updating our existing resolution that says we're going to follow the state's manual. So those are really what those particular items are about. Thank you.
Steve, what was the agency that requires that swale to be converted to a bioretention swale?
Well, the federal government requires the pollution reduction, and they make that incumbent on all the states. So in the state of Pennsylvania, it's DEP that's required to manage this program. And their program has to meet the federal guidelines. And of course, then they tell us we have to apply for these permits. And within these permits, we have to do a whole variety of things. This permit development took how long for this current permit?
It's many hours. It's a very thick permit application.
But I mean, it took months.
It's months to develop.
Months and months just to develop, the permit application. And this was one of the projects inside that application that the township proposed in order to meet our requirements for pollution reduction.
Okay.
Because there have been a number of projects identified that were part of the application that DEP has now.
Do we get any financial help from any of those?
This is an unfunded mandate,
Okay.
so that's a big no.
Yeah. I hear you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. Standardization committee?
Land preservation, we, at the last minute, had to cancel our May 28th meeting due to the storms that went through the area. So our next meeting is July 16th. We're going to discuss 4 parcels set up for easement at that meeting.
Thank you. Mark, on the bridge report? Anybody?
Guess that's me. The lead handler actually called in yesterday, and she reported that there are at least 9 or 10 people showing up for each of the pickleball nights up at the park. So that's very encouraging. She was worried nobody would come. Well, there were plenty of people, so that's great. There are a few days left for registering for the half-day summer camp. Camp starts next week, and registration ends this Friday. Typically in the past, if there were spots open, we've allowed people to register late, but that's up to the camp director. And one other really interesting note, a lot of people don't realize that the Coatesville Area Senior Center does service the Honeybrook area. And they send us a newsletter and with all their activities. And there's things they do every month, a birthday, lunch, that sort of thing. But there's something really interesting coming up at the end of June. On June 29th, the Brandywine Baseball Club, which is the 19th century reenactment club of baseball from that era, will give a presentation at the Senior Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that would be an interesting thing to check out. They'll have authentic period uniforms, and they'll tell everybody what the customs of the day were, and it should be very fun. That's all I have.
Thank you. Planning Commission?
Yes, there's several planning commission members here tonight, but for next month, actually this month, I'm sorry, we do have a land development plan, I believe that's in for review, and also a variance application that will be discussed by the planning commission. Christie, if I'm missing anything that came in late, let me know, but I think those would be only 2 items. Anything to add, Gary, or?
No,
Bob?
we heard the Fisher subdivision proposal, that went okay.
That's coming back, I believe, next month, and after they make some revisions to the plan.
And then the Daniel Mike, cabinetry building, that.
There'll be 2 items, yeah, from your meeting from this past month, will be discussed on the agenda.
And then there was the Echo application.
That's correct.
Oh, well, we spent a lot of time on ordinances.
The zoning ordinance, which also, you provided comments to the supervisors, and that was discussed at the workshop meeting. So I believe a lot of that, you're familiar with that, being incorporated into the revisions. Yeah. That's all I have for planning, unless you have any questions.
Open forum. Anybody to the right?
I would like to thank at least two of the members here in town back here, Mr. Tracy and Stacy and Tracy, for putting it up for us. Came a little late, but you still did it, and I appreciate it. I gotta talk that over now, see whether I can use it or not again. Just before the gate finally went in, the landowner told me she didn't want me back there. But I thank you for following through the gate.
Mr. Miller, would you be okay if I just gave a very brief summary of what you're talking about so that people understand what happened?
Sure.
There was a tragic incident that happened adjacent to the park, and Mr. Miller asked Canton, the township, and asked the gate in, which we did. And unfortunately, we can't, he can't use the gate to enter the adjacent properties. So we tried to do our best to help Mr. Miller as a board.
Thank you. Anybody else left? New business.
I'll take the first item, annual blank variance applications. Mr. Blank here, I'm sorry if there are. This is a application of the zoning hearing board variance to allow 5,000 square foot principal rule application on 8 acres of land within Honeybrook. If you recall, we discussed this at the workshop where the actual tract is approximately 50 acres, but it is bisected by the municipal boundary, the county boundary, Salisbury, Lancaster. With the requirement for the acres in Honeybrook Township, he's maximized at a size of 3,000 square foot with a 1,500 square foot accessory storage building. So even though he has the available acreage, the physical part of the acreage within Honeybrook does not let him have the size structure that he's looking for. So that's essentially the variance request. If the board has any questions for Mr. Blank, the Planning Commission did take a position of support for this application, given the circumstances of the lot size that you do.
Thank you for the time.
Sure. Mr. Blank, do you have anything to add for the board?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Our wish to support.
I'll make the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 2 for the board is ready to move on. Stephen Kaufman variance application. Is Mr. Kaufman here this evening? Mr. Kaufman this evening. This is also a variance application for an ECHO, which is an elderly care housing opportunity. The ordinance allows for a maximum of 1,000 square foot for the ECHO. The proposal is for 1,232 square foot, which is slightly over the 1,000. And if you recall, we were actually discussing this as part of our zoning amendment to potentially increase that number in the future. However, at the current time, it is still 1,000. Given the circumstances of where the property is, the Planning Commission also gave a position of support for that application as well.
Make the motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion to approve not to repay the bond invoices prepared by the treasurer.
I'll make the motion to pay the invoices.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt non-stop resolution invest capital reserve fund budget to allocate $30,000 for capital reserve to prevent existing swale and revival retaining swale in Evergreen Ridge development.
Make a motion to adopt.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to impact non-impact ordinance updating property maintenance code to the current state.
I'll make the motion to that.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt the non-stop resolution and following schedule of procedure for retaining and preservation of records set forth in the PA municipal record manual as amended and approved in March 2019.
Make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to confirm the termination of Donald Mertz in public works employee on May 4th, 2019. Call.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve not to create violence and maintain security recommended by Pentagon for Emily Firewood subdivision 2025 Elm Street in an amount of $5,059.50 for site improvement.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All new business? And Moving one. Anybody to the right?
Hemp. Are there any restrictions about what one must do to plant hemp in the township?
And what?
So that's a cultural.
It's kind of a new crop. And you all know what hemp is. Or maybe you don't.
Is that marijuana?
It's the family, it's in the same family as, and it's medical marijuana. But there's other, oil, marijuana oil, all the things that are being sold on the New York Stock Exchange right now. But, does the state have licensing, or do we in the township have any protocol for growing hemp?
My understanding is that there are state permits required to grow hemp in Pennsylvania at this time.
Okay.
So if someone wants to grow it in Huntingburg Township, they need a state permit. But as far as the township is concerned, I would consider it simply to be an agricultural product.
Fair enough. Because we got it.
You grow it, tell us. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
Not exactly on the property, but pretty darn close.
Actually, I saw the field of it today.
Yeah. It's
Right next to
another new cash crop.
Moving forward, we feel that. All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So upcoming meetings, June 13th, Trail Committee, June 20th, Park and Recreation meeting at 7:30, June 27th, Planning Commission, July 1st, Zoning Hearing Board, and July 3rd, the Supervisors Workshop, and then July 10th, the Supervisors Regular Meeting. The question of July 3rd, before the holidays, is it going to be difficult for anybody? Third. The day before the holiday. Yes. And as a stage that meeting is on this calendar. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining.
Grow that stuff.
I'm sorry.
Stop.